Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod here to talk about week 13, the final week and season finale of Big Brother 26. Last week on Chelsea's 4th HOH, the final four played in the most important veto of the season, which saw Mackenzie winning and getting puppeteered by Chelsea to evict Rubina. So we come into this finale weekend with a Friday and a Sunday episode, which I'm going to recap pretty much as one episode because the Friday episode was a lot of fluff that I'm not going to recap the recap. Before I dive in, I just want to thank everyone who's been with me on this journey for the past 2 seasons recapping and ranking Big Brother. Thank you to everyone who subscribed along the way and commented on the videos. If you haven't, it's not too late. I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps and rankings, and if you like all the content, consider liking and subscribing. But let's dive into it, briefly running through Friday's episode, where Chelsea is proud of herself for setting herself up to be well protected in the final 3. They celebrate being the final 3 by having their staged dinner to introduce the clip show. My favorite parts of this were the things we haven't seen before, like Angela's Jennifer Coolidge impression.
I just want to go back outside real bad. It feels so good to be on Big Brother.
Brooklyn being a conspiracy theorist and not believing in the moon landing and thinking hamsters were created in a lab, and Mackenzie falling with an entire tray of breakfast up the stairs. Of course, I love a musical moment with them singing their Janky Week in the Big Brother house song, which was really cute and made me nostalgic for the season before it was even over. I always love the bloopers and the crying clips that the show gives us that prove to us that there really are real diary sessions happening in between the scripted sessions that we actually get on the show. Their final 3 dinner is interrupted by a video message from BB26 winner Derek, who tells them that he was tasked by the government to shut down Ainsley, but he's failing and he needs them to take her messy ass down from the inside. So they're blue skidooed into part 1 of the final HOH competition, where they need to hang onto assault bots to attack Ainsley from above, as Ainsley's attack bots fire at them from below. The last player standing moves on to part 3 of the final HOH. So they get started, which leads us to Sunday's finale episode, where Julie has tasked her seamstress to make her a Greek goddess costume, the color of Mackenzie's lucky sports bra. Julie sets the agenda for the evening and a big step to the left with the sole purpose of showing us that she's in pants, not a dress. Back to the competition, where our brave heroes are fighting against cyber terrorist Ainsley's chilling plot, getting slimed along the way on the back of their necks and their booties. Mackenzie falls first, and Cam says he wants to win this and evict Chelsea, but he falls and Chelsea wins part 1 of the competition. Chelsea shuts down Ainsley's power source, but nothing happens. A missed opportunity for something exciting to happen. Come on, make me feel something for God's sakes. Derek gives them another message, which was obviously recorded on his personal cell phone. He tells them that they need to shut down Ainsley's brain, so they head to part 2, where their instructions are delivered by a raven. For no reason, I would have left on the spot, honestly. They need to do a rotating puzzle from the Reindeer Games finale, Remember Better Times. Then they need to arrange some wires and buzz in. They'll be playing head to head, and the first player to complete it and flip the switch to destroy Ainsley's brain will join Chelsea in part 3 of the HOH. They get started, and Mackenzie takes a quick lead in the puzzle. Cam is so bad at this, which makes it not that exciting to watch, as Mackenzie gets to her ropes and completes them before Cam even touches a rope. Mackenzie pulls the lever, Kronk, winning the competition, but also offing Ainsley, who begs for mercy and tells Mackenzie she was her favorite before she gets ripped into Terrifier style. So we say goodbye to Ainsley here, who started off as that cute girl who worked at a surf shop and turned into this poorly animated bald creature. The show should have used a deepfake of that actress as Ainsley all season, because I feel like Ainsley, the animated character, was a bit of an eyesore. She starts off as kind of a help, giving out advantages, but over time we learn of her nefarious plot to take over the world and her Cold War with the US government. We've had themes before, but this was the first time that we had a real story over the season, and I liked that. The twists and the AI arena really felt like they were part of this bigger story, which culminated in a bit of a climax, with the finalists defeating her once and for all. So goodbye, Ainsley. I'm glad you're gone, because you were an evil, nasty piece of shit. Following Ainsley's ousting, Mackenzie is proud of herself, and Cam publicly apologizes to his dogs at the crib for being such a flop. Back in the house, Mackenzie and Chelsea are impressed with themselves for winning most of the competitions in the endgame, and they both privately consider taking Cam to the final 2 and guaranteeing themselves a win. We move to the jury roundtable, which is set up Real Housewives reunion style, and is moderated by BB24 winner Taylor, who looks resplendent in a glittery 2-piece. Rubina joins the jury, and they weigh out the finalist games. They respect that Mackenzie won 9 competitions, but feel she made some puzzling decisions along the way. They feel that Mackenzie's moves were influenced by Chelsea, who has tied the HOH record, and feel that Chelsea played a phenomenal game. Taylor calls Angela out for being bitter against Chelsea, and T-Core comes to Chelsea's defense. They talk about Cam, feeling like he was a peaceful player who was in strong alliances, but that he's so terrible in competitions. They don't care that much about the competition, since none of them on the jury besides Angela really won many. Back in the house, Chelsea and Mackenzie play in their final HOH competition called Data Disruption. They need to watch videos of the jury members' deepfakes, giving 3 facts about themselves, and identify which of their answers are Ainsley's corrupt data. After 6 videos, the player with the most answers wins the competition. I predicted that Chelsea would win this because she's just better at trivia competitions. So they play this one out with both of them getting questions correct. Mackenzie is having the time of her life, laughing and making faces. They're both very vocal and being silly throughout this competition. They both get the first 5 questions right, but Mackenzie gets the 6th and not Chelsea, so Mackenzie wins the final HOH of the season. Back in the living room, Cam and Chelsea make speeches. Cam doesn't plead much, but Julie yet again reminds him to shout out the dogs at the crib. Chelsea appeals to Mackenzie's morals, telling Mackenzie to make herself proud and make it an all-women final 2. Mackenzie makes her decision, and everyone in America is screaming at their TVs, evict Chelsea, but the second Mackenzie says she's choosing based on loyalty, we know she's sending Cam back to the crib. So Cam becomes the final juror, and once my frustration from Mackenzie making one of the biggest mistakes in Big Brother history dies down, I do see that it's cool that these 2 queens are the final 2 of the season. In Cam's interview, Julie kind of hints to Cam that Mackenzie made a mistake, calls Cam out for being a D1 athlete and winning just one competition, and asks him who he would have taken to final 2, and he says Chelsea. So we have to say goodbye to Cam here, who I originally ranked 6th based on first impressions, with him saying he wanted to work with older players. I was worried that he was just there to make friends. He never follows through on aligning with the older players, and is a hard player to assess because he's in a good spot in the game for most of the game, mostly because Chelsea had a crush on him and was dragging him into every alliance and plan she was in. The few things he did on his own were a mess, like the strange flirting with Leah in the early weeks, and ultimately I feel like more than anything, he didn't have much going on strategically and was just there to make friends. While I don't really feel social strategy games are for him, I think he would have been so much better on Love Island or another show where he could just flirt with girls, smile, look good, and rake in the Instagram followers. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him again on TV. Julie then reveals Cam's eviction to the jury, and they get to the jury questioning. Chelsea is called out for lying a lot. She deflects, saying that she was wise for how she handled information and when to use it. Mackenzie is called out for being controlled by Chelsea, and when asked what a decision she made for herself was, she answers that the move to get Leah out was completely not influenced by anyone. When Chelsea is asked a time that she influenced someone, she cites 2 times she influenced Mackenzie, especially to target Leah, which totally dunks on Mackenzie's previous answer. Mackenzie makes another classic move of saying it was a big move to team up with the person she's in the final 2 with, saying teaming up with Chelsea kept her safe. When they're both asked why they should win, Chelsea advocates that she has great social game, having won 4 HOHs, nominating a ton of people and having only been nominated once. Mackenzie cites being the player who took Tucker out and then took his spot as the competition threat. In their final speeches, Chelsea says she started off as a microchip and got to a place where she would be in the final 3 with 2 people who both would have taken her to the end, with a great slogan that her game is like a diamond. Mackenzie starts off talking Chelsea up, says she's had a target on her from being in a showmance, had people targeting her for other reasons, and had to play a game of survival, repeatedly saying that Chelsea has a better social game than her. They get to the voting, which starts off with chaos.
I am voting for the most diabolical, sick, nasty player of the season.
You know you can't vote for yourself, right, Quinn?
And the pre-jurors return for a mini reunion. Joseph shares that his family was affected by Hurricane Milton. Julie offers him thoughts and prayers, but keeps her purse closed. For real though, they couldn't give him some money? Julie calls Tucker out on the misunderstanding between he and Cedric, and it becomes a funny animated Tucker moment. Tucker gives Rubina some flowers, and they exchange I love yous. Tubina pretty much agreed to be in a relationship after the show. Julie asks Mackenzie if she's still interested in Matt. There's no clear answer. Matt also apologizes to Angela and they hug it out. Brooklyn introduces the charcuterie clip, which is really just an opportunity for them to watch it and laugh. And Angela gets another apology from Brooklyn, but no hug. Moving on to the identity of the instigator, Tucker comes forward and has to explain to his new girlfriend that he made her cry. Julie also reveals to the house guests that Kamala Harris is running for president, and they don't give as big a reaction as I think Julie was looking for, but these people have been hiding their political opinions for 3 months, and they aren't about to start tonight. Julie then reveals the jury votes, and 4 votes in a row come out for Chelsea, making her the unanimous winner of the season. Before we wrap up and talk about the finalists, Julie reveals the top 3 vote getters for AFP to be Angela, Tucker, and Quinn, and Tucker wins America's Favorite Player and $50,000. I was waiting on the edge of my seat for an announcement about my favorite show, Reindeer Games, but the show ends with Jenki's soul returning to his body and a big sing-along to his theme song. Nobody loves this song more than Julie. I'm happy that Jenki's alive again, but what about Santa? What about the carolers and the crooner? We need to find a way to be festive this season, y'all. But let's wrap things up talking about our 2 finalists, starting with runner-up Mackenzie, who preseason said she wanted to play like Casey because she was good at competitions and true to her friends, and she really ended up embodying that to a T, which I feel is probably why she was so confident in her game in the end. I was concerned about some comments she made preseason saying about herself that she's basically so fly and hot, and I feel like she could have gone downhill or say something to get herself canceled, but she never said anything to get herself canceled. In fact, fans were way too hard on her, accusing her of having a crush on her brother because she said nice things about him, which is a terrible accusation. I'll talk more about her game in my postseason rankings, but her commitment to loyalty was nice, I guess. But I think she'll look back at this when she's older and kick herself for making a boneheaded decision at Final 3, which truly cost her the win, because I think she clears the vote against Cam. But Cody made the same foolish decision and comes back to play a dominant winning game. I think Mackenzie's age played into her being a bit naive here, but she does have a lot of potential to be really dangerous on a return. And we celebrate our winner, Chelsea, who postseason I ranked 9th, feeling like her plan to rely on social game was a bit naive. She planned to be seen as someone who people love but are intimidated by, and I felt like being such a presence would get her voted out early, but she ends up completely living up to her claims. Being just that, she was someone who everyone loved. She avoids being nominated week 1 despite nominating the microchips being the potential obvious choice for any week 1 HOH, and she quickly finds herself in the 3Cs alliance within the Pentagon, within the collective, a power structure that would have gotten her to the final 3, with 2 people who would have taken her to the final 2 in a different universe. This led me to ranking her first week 1. When the Pentagon blew up, she had one bad week where, even though she, Brooklyn, and Cam were in a bad spot, she avoids being initially nominated and nearly avoids being on the block at all. And she quickly clawed her way back up my rankings. I was back and forth between she and T-Core for a while, and once T-Core was out, the power in the house weighed heavy on Chelsea's side, resulting in a really smooth ride to the end for her, and a bit of a steamroll win, which wasn't the most exciting TV at the time, but she ends up being, in my opinion, one of the most dominant winners. I'd say she's the most dominant winner from the women in the show's history. So congrats to Chelsea on the win. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the finale and Chelsea as a winner. Again, thank you to everyone who supported the channel this season and in general. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back later this week with Survivor and the challenge. I'll also have my postseason rankings. I have concepts of a plan and a rough list for that I know people aren't going to be happy with, so I'm battening down the hatches. I'll see you when I see you. Until next time, have a nice week. Bye.